Hello, welcome to another video. Hope you're doing well. And today we're going to create basically a API which we can hit with a phone number and a message payload, and it'll send a text message. So you might use this for one-time passwords or for automating sending text messages at certain times of days. It's used if companies want to send promotional text, things like that. So I've created a folder here, send text API, and first thing first, we're just going to run npm init. So we're going to write a lambda in TypeScript, and then use terraform to define all of our AWS resources. So we'll have an API gateway which hits an SQS queue and then hits a lambda, which hits another service in AWS called SMS, and we can use this to send text messages. So let's just call it that. I'll create this, but we're going to change some stuff. Let's just say yes for just now. Okay, so we've got our package.json, and our main is actually going to be index.ts. We'll create a tsconfig.json file as well, and we don't really need that script just now. A script which we will need is build, to build our TypeScript file into a JavaScript file for the lambda, and that will be asbuild bundle minify platform equals node, target equals node 12, and out there equals build, and then we want to target index.ts. Let's just create that file as well. So it's going to be a pretty simple repo, this, not too much going on. Don't really need that either. We can actually probably just get rid of main. Yeah, let's just get rid of all of this. Okay, so let's write our lambda first, and then we'll come back and do the terraform. So there's going to be a lot of terraform. I won't code it all live. I'll copy and paste some bits, but I'll give you access to the source code as well. So first thing we're going to import is the SNS client. Actually, let's just start by getting straight into it. So we're going to export a handler, which is asynchronous, and it'll take in an event which is from an SQS queue, so it's got the type SQS event, and it's not going to return anything. So promise void. So the promise is because it's asynchronous. Void, it's not returning anything. Okay. So we need to sort a few things here. So first thing is SQS event. That comes from a package called AWS Lambda. So it's not an official AWS package, but it's got some types for basic things, such as what an SQS event looks like when it comes into the Lambda. So we're going to npm install save deb AWS Lambda, and then import SQS event from AWS Lambda. Okay, sorry, this should be export const handler. And what's going on here? Okay, we'll sort that in the tsconfig stuff. Right, so first thing first, we're going to get our body, which we are going to define the type of that. So that's what's coming in on the SQS message. So we want type, let's just call it API input, and that's going to be a message, which is a string, and then a phone number, which we'll also just have as a string. So body is API input, that's going to be json.parse, because the SQS event body comes in as a string, so we need to parse that. Event.records, which it can be multiple if they're batched, but we're not going to worry about any batching. And then just .body. And for debugging, we'll just console.log json.stringify body. Okay, first thing we're going to do is have a try and then catch. We want to catch the error if the text message fails to send, and for just now we'll just console.log that error. Okay, in the try block we'll await, and here is where we're going to send SMS message. So in order to do that, we need to import this thing, an SNS client, which comes from an AWS library, and a publish command. That's going to be for publishing the text from AWS SDK / client SNS. Okay, and we'll just install that as well. Npm install, save as a dev dependency. Oops, that should be client SNS. Okay, and then here we're going to, well, actually, first of all, up here, just going to say the region. We're going to deploy this, well, I'm going to deploy it to EU West1. Feel free to do something different. And then I'm going to instantiate that SNS client. And into there you can pass in some parameters, so I'm going to pass in region is region. Okay, you can move this out to some variables file if you want, or just keep it inline. And then here to send the message, we're going to do client.send new publish command, and in there, oops, is going to be our phone number, which is body.phone number, and then message, which is body.message. Okay, so that's all of our code done for the lambda. So very simple lambda. It's just taking an input and then sending a text message using the SNS client. Okay, we should fill out our tsconfig file. I'm going to copy and paste this in. You can copy and paste it as well. We don't need that. I think we just need that. Oops, have I forgotten that? I think this is because root dir is wrong, so we just change that. And hopefully, yeah, there we go. Right, what's wrong here? Okay, I got rid of that error by installing a few packages. So I've installed TypeScript, ESBuild, and types/node. Okay, so just to install those, it's just the same npm install -- save dev, and then the free packages: ESBuild, types, node, and TypeScript. Okay, that's our lambda finished. So the next thing we need now is the terraform. So I'll do this in a few steps. The first thing I'll do is write the lambda function. So we need a few things for this. So we're going to have a main.tf file, iam.tf file for the permissions, and then what else do we need? Oh, lambda.tf file. So main.tf file, we're just going to have provider AWS and then specify the region we're deploying to, which is going to be EU West 1. Okay, and then the lambda. So data, archive file. So this is how we put the file into a lambda. We need to zip it up. So we'll call this lambda zip. And we need to give it a few things. So type, which is zip. And then source file, which is going to be, I'll show you this in a second, build index.js. So it needs a JavaScript file, and that's going to be bundled with the packages, as the dependencies as well. And then output is just going to be lambda function.zip. Okay, and to generate this file, we have this script here. So we can run npm run build. I think that should be node 12. Oh no, platform node. Why does it not like that? Oh, platform. So again, try that again. npm run build, and it builds it into this, which I don't understand. Maybe you do. But it's just minified all of our dependencies and our code into one file. So Lambda should be able to interpret that. Right, so now that we've zipped up our code, we can create an AWS Lambda function. That should be in quotes. And let's just call this SMS sender. Okay, a few things here. File name, which is our lambda function.zip, and that will be generated by the above data block. And then function name, this doesn't matter too much, but we'll call it SMS sender. And then the handler in there is index.handler, so it's index file within the lambda function, and then the handler function. So this function that we've exported here, that's the entry point for the lambda, and that should be a string. And then role, we'll define this in a second, but it's going to be AWS IAM role, IAM for lambda terraform, and then .arn. Source code hash. So this is it doesn't redeploy the lambda unless anything's changed. So it's going to be the hash of our data. We can calculate, well, Terraform can calculate the output base 24 hash for us, base 64 hash for us. And then runtime, we are running the lambda node JS 16.x. So the latest version of node lambda is at the moment. We won't worry about that at the moment. Actually, the next thing, no, actually, we'll leave it like that just now. Okay, let's try and deploy. Actually, we need to create the role and then we'll try and deploy it. So if we go into our IAM, I'm going to copy and paste this and then just talk through what it's doing. I'll put the source code, a link to the source code in the description, so you can also just copy and paste. I don't want you typing out these roles if you don't have to. Let me just work out what I need. Okay, I think that's all we need for the moment just to get the Lambda running. So I've already pasted in my AWS credentials. If you don't know how to do this, I'll show you quickly. So if you go to I am in AWS, oops, need to sign in. Let me just get my multi-factor code. Always have multi-factor on your AWS account. Oh dear. I hate these. I think that's G8Y. Oh dear. B76 YRC. Right, I'll pause that for a second while I try and sign in. Okay, I'm in. So if you go to the I am dashboard, you can create a user for this. Which one am I using? I'm using this one. So I've just given this admin permissions, which isn't best practice, but you want to grant it permissions. The Terraform user should have permissions so it can deploy everything that you need to deploy using Terraform. And then security credentials, you want to set it up so it's got an access key and a secret key. It'll only show your secret key once, and then you can copy and paste these into environment variables called AWS access key ID, I think, and AWS secret key. So if you go to Terraform and Google Terraform credentials, it'll show you how to do that. I've already done that, so I'm going to change into the Terraform folder, run Terraform init to install the providers. I'll just pause the video while it doesn't. Oh, it's done it already. And then run Terraform apply. So we can have a look at the plan. It's wanting to create a lambda function and an I am role. So that's what, say yes. While that's deploying, if we go to lambda in our AWS account, functions, still creating, so we just give it a few more seconds. There we go. Should be here. SMS sender. There it is. Okay. So it looks like it's here. What we want to do now is test it. So to test it, we can use an SQS template because it's expecting a SQS input, and then we're going to put in the body the structure that we expect. So we said we want, in here you need to escape the quotation marks. Oops. Let's start that again. So we want phone number, which needs to start with +44. I'm gonna just use a random number just now, and then we want a message. Oops. Let's just say hello from Lambda. Oops, we'll call that test. Save that, and then we should be able to test it with that input. Has it tested it with the right input? It has, but something's going wrong. Cannot read properties of undefined, means 0. So let's double check exactly what we need to have in the body. So it should be message and phone number. So why is that not like that? Oops. So we've got message and phone number. Let me just see if I can work out why that's gone wrong. Oh, you probably spotted this while I was doing it, but records should be spelled like that. So we'll need to do npm run build and then terraform apply. So you can write a package script if you want that does both of those things, but I'll just do it manually at the moment. It shouldn't take as long to deploy this time. Modified, and then let's try testing. This time it goes green and we get it. Okay, so our lambda role isn't authorized to perform SMS publish. Okay, so that's probably expected, but is expected. We need to add that to the role. So in here, need to find the right section for allowing SNS publish. Where's that in my notes? Okay, so it's in this block here. We'll just grab the whole thing. And I'll try and walk through what these are doing in a second. So we've got a data block and then this policy and then an attachment which attaches it to the lambda role. Okay, I'll just deploy that and then try and explain what it's doing. So we are adding these statements to a policy and then attaching the data to the policy and then attaching the policy to the role which we created for our lambda. So the permissions we're giving it is SQS, that will become clear in a second. Yeah, we're letting on SQS. Sorry, I don't think we need this actually. We can probably get rid of that. I think creating log groups, and then we are allowing writing log groups and yeah, to do a login, and then the key one here is SNS publish, which we're just allowing on all resources at the moment. So we go back to our lambda now, test, and it looks like it's worked. Let's see. Okay, I have got a text from it's just called notice saying hello from lambda, so you can see that there. Okay, so it looks like it's worked. One thing I should have walked through before is this SNS thing. To allow text in, this is only using sandbox, so you basically need to add a phone number and then type the phone number in here, and it'll send you a verification text, and you need to put the verification code in here. That's basically only for sandbox, just for testing. If you wanted to use this in production, you can request that from AWS and you need to fill out a form. Okay, this video is getting pretty long, so I'm going to leave it here. That seems like a good place to stop. In the next video, we'll attach this to an API gateway and an SQS queue, and we'll create an API endpoint where we can hit it and then get it to send a text. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel. I know it's been a while since I last uploaded, but I'm going to try and do some more regular uploads now. Thank you, and let me know if you've got any questions or need any help.